Hello, you dirty potters. How are you today? Today's kind of a special episode because I've been hiding something from you guys for maybe about a month now. Firstly, we're going to be doing a piece from the shame pile. For those of you who have been keeping up with the channel, the shame pile is just a pile of my unfinished work that I have not glazed for years. Sometimes you see me make them on the channel and then you just never see me glaze them. That's because when you make your own glazes, you're always looking for the next best glaze to go along with the specific thing that you made. Sometimes it takes like a year to find the right thing, but sooner or later you have to bite the bullet and glaze that stuff. So in today's video, we're going to be glazing this. This is a piece that I made at my last job before I moved on to my current job. And I never really knew what to do with it, especially because considering I just wanted to play with underglaze a little bit and make something like a bottleneck demo vase. In today's video, we're going to be glazing this. On top of that, the thing that I've been hiding from you is that technically we have a new sponsor. Introducing Sanbao transfers. Sanbao transfers saw the YouTube video I did on underglaze transfers, and since they specialize in underglaze transfers, they sent us some stuff to talk to you guys about. I went on their website and it turns out they sell stuff like this, which is pretty much a mouth sprayer. I don't know why they call it a metal atomizer. That's a really fancy word for if you blow into it, you can spray your glaze. I have played with one of these before, but I haven't used them for quite some time, mainly because whenever I need to spray my work, I usually go to a shop or have somebody come over that has a setup, and they end up letting me use their setup. But this is a really good option for anyone who doesn't want a full setup or finds it a little bit too messy to start spraying their own glazes, especially if you just have little pieces out there that don't need like a full setup. You're not making 2-foot tall pieces or anything like that. It's pretty basic and just requires a bit of lung power. You put your glaze in here after mixing it up properly, of course. And this here is the pressure, it sprays out. So in today's video, we're gonna be spraying this with the Sanbao mouth sprayer with a couple of glazes that are a little more experimental. We have 2 glazes on the docket for this piece. The first one is my Gomamon Gray. I just developed it at the beginning of the year, and I made it so that it was a workhorse for both brown and white clay. Right around the time Amico started to give me the milk chocolate and the dark chocolate clay bodies, I figured I would develop a glaze that does well on all 3 of the clay bodies. So on a milk chocolate clay body, Gomamon's Gray looks like this. And this is on the milk chocolate clay body from Amico. But it doesn't look like this whatsoever on a white clay body. In fact, on a white clay body, it looks kind of like this. And sometimes if you double fire it and get it hot enough, sometimes it can make colors like this. Here's a double layered version of it, and here's the single one. Notice this matches this over here. That's because this is a single dip, and this is a double dip. I'm really happy with it because it has a lot of versatility, and ever since developing it, I've been using it like gangbusters. This is actually one of my favorite combos, going out to a customer probably within the next week.
Dante, show us the Mega Man test style you have of that glaze. I know you have one. I know you're hiding it from.
I'm not going to show you the Mega Man test style. That's a secret episode. You can't see that. So this is going to get Gomamon Gray on the high majority of this, and I hope that the blue interacts with it on some level. The experimental part of this is that I'm going to be combining it with a red mason stain glaze that I've been working on for quite some time. CMW, Ceramics Material Workshop, their links will be down below, just released a giant book of mason stain tests, and because of my new job, I'm also now into mason stains. So I'm going to put this red, of which I have not tested whatsoever, in combination with Gomamon Gray, and see how it comes out. Okay, I didn't plan this at all, but it looks like I don't have enough room in the bucket to glaze the middle, with the amount of displacement the liquid or the glaze is doing when I put this in there. And I don't want to brush this at all. So Sanbao actually came in pretty clutch, considering we could just mouth spray this on. I'm gonna do one of these because I do not trust myself to not spray all of the other tests behind it. This is the exact reason why I put a box right behind it, because I knew this would happen. I think most people who are used to spraying their glazes on are probably used to that fan type pattern, you know, where it kind of goes like this and you can kind of count the amount of layers. 1 layer, you know, and then you wait for it to dry, and then 2 layers, and you wait for it to dry, and then you can kind of measure your distance from there so you can decide your thickness on the pot itself. This here doesn't really have that fan effect, unfortunately. This kind of has like a shotgun effect where it sprays everywhere, but as long as you have the right amount of distance and you have the right amount of layers and you wait for stuff to dry and everything, it should be a really quick, easy tool to use, as long as you're not trying to glaze an entire large 1-foot piece with it, which is kind of what I'm doing, because realistically, I'm not glazing the entire thing with this mouth sprayer. I just want a little bit of flavor at the top for my base coat. So if you're a bottle glazer, you can probably glaze your stuff as normal, set up a set of your favorite glaze combination, and put the topper in this, and then you can spray, move, spray, move, spray, move. You don't have to mess around with a brush as much. And if you're a fan of my channel, you probably know that I'm not really a brusher. The mouth sprayers usually require a little bit more water in them for ease of spraying. For example, if you have a high specific gravity glaze, and this isn't even high, this is at 1.5, I would suggest putting a little bit of water in there. I know a lot of people already put water in the Amico glazes and whatnot, but if you are planning on spraying bottle glazes, you totally can. Do not try to spray that thick gelatinous fresh out the bottle stuff. Add a little bit of water, separate it in another cup so you don't have to add all the water to the bottle, and then spray it. Trust me, it'll make your life a lot easier. As we usually do, let's talk about what we're putting in the kiln and at what temperature before we put it in. We're putting this in at cone 6 oxidation. I usually put a pyrometric cone in there, so you will be able to see a pyrometric cone at some point in this episode. But this time we're putting a 30-minute hold at 1800 degrees because I'm doing some other experiments. So we will get to see this on a crystal-ish hold. That's usually where I put my crystal glazes, 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, for 30 minutes or more. So this is a very, very small hold. This is B mix with no grog, and we also have an experimental red I've been calling Ba 2 at 8% with Mason stain 6097 inside of it. The specific gravity is 1.5. And with all of that being said, let's put it in the kiln. Okay, now that our shame piece is out of the kiln, let's take a look. It actually came out really, really nice. Unfortunately, my kiln did overfire, so usually I like to do a good standard cone 6, and then I bring it down to about 1800 Fahrenheit whenever I'm experimenting with crystal glazes, which is not what this is, but it was what it was for the other experiments that you might have seen at a later time on blogs and whatnot. But unfortunately, let me see if I can find it over here. Oh, nope, that is not a testile. That is a cat. Keisha, get out of here. I put a pyrometric cone in almost all of my new test firings, so if it's a standard kiln and I don't really care about the heat work, I just put nothing in. But every other firing that I have tests in, I have a pyrometric cone. And this is usually what I like to run. See, it's not even touching the palm of my hand over here really, and it's kind of bent over. So generally, it should be like that, okay? This is what came out of this kiln. It is a little bit overfired. So even though I do like this, and I do think this could be a glaze combination in the future with Gomamon Gray and this new red glaze I've just been playing with, and I do have the testile for it over here. It came out a pretty standard good red. I do think it's too thick, but that's a pretty easy problem to solve. But otherwise, it's a pretty good red. It's a very, very easy recipe. What I didn't suspect is that if I put this red mason stain over a face separation glaze, like my Gomamon Gray, I would get this kind of purplish hue. And like I said, I do think I need to put it a little bit lighter, because up here, this is beautiful. I want the entire pot to be this. This is kind of just red with extra steps. I am going to experiment with this more. I'm most likely going to take down the specific gravity and definitely stop firing to cone 7. I'm going to tune that down a little bit. Oh, well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today. I hope you like this glaze. Who knows, I might release the recipe to this mason stain base, but I'm really new at it and I'm a little bit uncomfortable releasing the recipe on that level. Let me experiment with it for a while, and then we can let my patrons decide whether they want to give the recipe or not at the end of the year. Again, thank you for joining me today for glazing my piece. I'm serious. I am going to put this on my website at earthnationceramics.com. But thank you for joining me today. Remember to click all those YouTube buttons, and I will see you, Dirty Potters, next week.
Thank you for your patronage.
Oh, okay, that's not the glaze. I ate food before this. Okay, I was worried.